Okay.
And we gave you a proposal, and you office gave us a proposal, counter proposal, and then we worked away. That's how I think that went. So the ball is in the university's court, and we've got what we'll hand out is our proposal for today. Is give you two more.
They're gonna give it to us. Can we make the CBA shorter so it's not so bad? I don't.
You can make the print
That was our
smaller.
original.
Is there an electronic copy available?
Not right now. One later. So I'll walk through that in a minute. This is our counter to your one that you gave us at the last meeting we had. And a lot of it will be recognizable. We've marked it again, our changes in red. And I'll walk through those pages in a minute with you. As we said last time we were together, the university is pretty much proposing a status quo contract with some changes that you had actually wanted. We made some changes and we tweaked it some more since our last meeting with respect to evaluations in Article 10. So we got some other minor amendments to that. Of course, in our salary proposal, we'll give you that. It's in the package. But let's kind of walk through this now and say what we've done.
Yeah, we to the grievance for the had my break.
The Article 1 is the one that y'all opened that you wanted some changes on the recognition provision of the agreement. That was something that was important to you. We've gone ahead and marked that and made those changes, which were the ones that you made. I think the only thing we did, Bob, is there were a couple of instances where we think we could have added what you wanted, but it was just not in your proposal. We've added those words. But they're all marked in red and they're found on page 1 of our proposal under Article 1. The next one
Yeah,
is,
that's all. We had the advanced copy and you put in rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
okay, the other.
We agree to this right now. I can tell you, we agree to this one right now.
You want to just TA it now?
Yeah, TA it right now.
That's fine.
These are old.
Any problems with that? Listening, we're TA in this one right here.
Article
So,
1?
yeah.
Article one.
Is there another copy? Are we trying to have two
Is
copies?
there another copy?
Here's one.
You want another copy?
Great, yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
That's the last one before this one. Okay, so I'll TA and then today's date on it. I'm just doing it up at the top of the page. You can do where you want, but I'm just indicating unless there's any that we wouldn't agree to the whole page. If I initial, it means that we agree to the changes on that page, okay? And then, so you want to initial this one and then I'll initial yours. Just do one at a time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. Next page, we're proposing that change. You've seen this before, having to do with communications through email shall suffice in communication. We think that's the change that is helpful to both parties. You want to initial that one?
I'm gonna talk to everybody, but we'll probably take a break, but probably would agree to that.
Okay,
So
sure.
I just want to get clarification.
Absolutely. That's understandable. We'll walk through these. So, the one thing we did that on page 5, if you remember, we're proposing that Title IX change to non-sexual harassment, but if you look on page 6, this is where there was an issue that you raised about being able to file a grievance on like a discipline that results from the Title IX office doing their investigation. And we added, if you look at the line starting at 366 on page 6, reads, after such claims are fully processed and resolved pursuant to the policy, should an employee be dissatisfied with any disciplinary action resulting from the processing of claims, the employee may file a grievance under Article 20 to contest the disciplinary action. So we've addressed that. There was a concern that y'all had about whether you could file, a grievance over the result of the processing of the claim. So we've added that.
Probably we need to talk about that. Of course, the only thing we want to make sure of that, the time for filing grievances may have expired.
Definitely would have expired. It could take years.
Well, the discipline would have been resulting from the processing, and you'd still have time once the discipline's meted out to file your grievance. But you're right. I mean, we'll make sure that the people would not be time barred, but if
Right.
the discipline would flow from the
But this-
investigation, would then trigger the grievance.
But this would still prevent them from having a union rep with them through this process.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I believe that you're allowed to do that. I don't think I've not looked into that. You're saying that, first of all, let me say this, during an investigation, the Weingarten rule wouldn't be triggered. And that's that rule that says union representation is appropriate.
I think you're right. What we objected to before was it made it, this was the only thing you had to go ahead and go through this particular process. You couldn't file a grievance at all.
Well,
So, right, I agree
we
with you.
addressed the issue that we
And now
found.
that has, and I need to talk to everybody, but, that probably might be okay, as long as, it's clear that once that decision is made and the time limit from that decision, that's when the 30 days starts to run.
Yeah, we wouldn't want anybody to be time barred by not knowing that they had a right to, the discipline is what would trigger the grievance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, when we take a break, we can go over.
Sure,
that.
sure. We'll go ahead and do
Yeah,
that.
you have that was our main problem, that we couldn't file a grievance at all.
Yeah, it's
So-
unclear as to whether it's solved.
Well, we heard you. We've been back and talked about it, and we talked that, we could certainly agree with that, so we put the language in there for you. The Article 8 appointment, you had proposed, and I think we both agreed on page 9, lines 539 through 541 to add the exception about the independent study and directed reading courses.
Right.
So that's one we may be able to, because I think we both had talked about this.
But yeah, I think, I'm not sure whether you agreed to that last time or not, but I think that was one thing we kind of agreed to.
I think we had.
You want to initial it now, or do you want to wait?
I'd initial that now, because we had talked about this before and we
Right.
had agreed to it, I think.
Okay.
Make it easier. No, he's just- Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
So this would just actually compensate you if it was something.
We agreed to that before. Because this helps the student.
Training.
I don't know, it really makes a big difference. Okay, look at page 18
Yeah.
of our proposal, page 18, and I'm referring you to lines 1019, that's 1019 through 1031. Now, this has been something that y'all have repeatedly said was very important to you about. This is having to do with employee performance evaluations. And, the process and what the, what expectations, specific expectations there are. And I'll tell you, I'm going to turn this over to Jim because we heard you, we discussed it. Jim's worked on this and we come up with this language which we think tracks what you want. But Jim, you want to go forward? And
Sure. So this came up as I was already working on this as a project about a year and a half ago, thinking it through, and I've been implementing it across the university, which is to have annual evaluation expectations. Clearly, what are those expectations? So faculty will know, and there wouldn't be unwritten rules about what is expected of you. And the main change I had to make was originally from you, it was each department or school, and we had to add college because we have a lot of colleges that don't have departments, and then some colleges do what their expectations are centrally, for all of their units. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. I did change it from criteria to expectations because that's the language I've been using. And I think it's a good thing. I think we have a mutual interest in this, and it can't do anything. I don't think it can do anything but help in the long run.
That was interesting, the department approved the process, but didn't leave anything in here about who approved the substantive requirements, it's like floating up in the air.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I need to talk to everybody because the language has changed, but I think we can probably agree to this. When we take a break, we'll go.
Sure.
over these.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. It puts some more power back in with the individuals anyhow. And every department's different. Like I get a big complaint in my department, in the School of Kelsey, that the College of Business has picked out these 50 journals that you're supposed to publish it, and the people in accounting just can't do it. They just can't do it. And so, I think, giving the departments a little bit more, say is probably good.
I think so.
You haven't seen this yet, so we don't have any problem taking as much time as you want to go over that and let us know what you think.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Is this consistent with what you've been telling everybody this last year? That's what, yeah, okay. Because
Absolutely.
we've been familiar with that.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah.
The, on that same page, 18, you've seen our proposals before on evaluation. So our proposal is still in there on the file, and the fact that the file is online and accessible and transparent, accessible to the faculty member. So we make sure that we put that in there. That's line 1058, 1059. So you've seen that one before. Page 19, we just had some capitalizations and grammatical things that we corrected. So you'll see some red marks in there, but nothing substantive. Just cleanup. All we're doing. So you may want to look at those. Same thing is true on page 20, line 1139. There was just a cleanup there. It was a typographical error that we're proposing to be corrected in the agreement. Yeah, I think you've seen that one before. Bobby's team has. Now let's talk about disciplinary action and a job abandonment. Page 26 of our proposal. Page 26. Now, we had previously put on the table, we still have it in our proposal, to add to lines 1472 and 1473, where use of email during video meetings, and communication through emails. And I think we discussed that briefly at the last meeting. That's still in our proposal. The same thing is true on lines 1484 and 1485, having to do notice of discipline through the email sent by the university to the employee during a video meeting held for the purpose of delivery of such notice. Again, we've discussed this, still in our proposal. You wanted the letters of counseling in section 16.6. The language that we have incorporated into our proposal is basically your proposal with just minor tweaking to it. So in the past, we've not had the language about letters of counsel in the agreement. And you thought that was very important to your team and your constituents. So the university, having considered that, we are proposing that be placed into the agreement. I think we just tweaked it, maybe minor words or two here or there. But I think that's one that shouldn't be a surprise since you wanted it. Okay? Any questions on that one?
Yeah.
And I'd like to point out that a major concession on our part was that these letters shall not be a part of an employee's personnel file.
Thank you.
So that was, I know that was a big one that you guys wanted. So again,
That's a good point.
Yeah, so
we're listening.
I think take a break, but yeah, I think the only thing we need to talk about is we were a little concerned about video meeting. I don't, it's like,
Talk about it some more.
Yeah, whether that's the
We think that's the thing.
that's
the-
appropriate time to go in. You have a video meeting and say, okay, here it is, you're fired. I don't know.
Well, in the climate we've been working in, we kind of need that.
Oh,
And
you
it
know,
doesn't mean that we'll have to do it.
Oh, I'm
every
saying,
time.
so maybe it's not a good idea to have the person in the room when saying fired. But I
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that.
No, by climate, I meant the coronavirus.
Well, no, but I'm saying, no, maybe, no, I agree with you that you don't know what people do nowadays. It's crazy.
Well, I guess,
that's
I
not
guess
why that's there.
my question is email, and because we're using these together, is email qualitatively the same thing as video or face-to-face? I think if you're able to ask the person that gives you the letter a question, so there's some language in the letter, and you say, well, what does this mean, or what are the details? Sometimes the email would not have that potential interactive part.
Well, the idea would be you'd be on a video conference.
Right, okay.
And then you would say, this is what we're going to do. Here, I'm going to send you
Okay.
this thing right now.
Okay.
You'd send it to them
I
and
got
then you would
I got you.
work on it together.
So how does that though?
The same as if you were in a room together.
Okay.
That was the idea.
Because what I'm afraid of is that I'll just miss the email because I do that sometimes.
Yeah, if it was only an email, that would be.
Right, but it's not
yeah.
just only.
But is
email.
that spelled out in
Right.
here so that doesn't happen? Like, we're not just gonna get an email that I miss and then I was in trouble, I didn't even know it
Via email sent by the university to the
During a
employee
video
during a
meeting.
video.
during
meeting.
a video.
So
Okay,
that
good.
language, we were
All
very
right.
clear about that because
Okay.
we were just trying to recreate what it would be like
Gotcha.
if you were in an office together
Okay.
in a room.
And they
together.
handed you.
Yeah, and they handed
Okay.
you, this is going to be the same thing.
We're clarifying the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah, 'cause I
It's
missed
not
it.
meant to be in any way harmful to anyone. It's more of a modernization of the contract, bring it up to date, technologically, how we communicate today. That's what we're trying to address.
Okay.
I think that's something.
And it says the same thing on line 1485, so it's 1473 and 1485, it's the same language.
Okay,
We were very,
Thank you.
tried to be very clear about it.
Okay, we now go into the lead article, which is found in Article 17. And we've talked about these before, and I think we're all on the same page. Starting with page 28, in red, we've changed the name of the office on, who approves these leaves, and also this parental leave program, we talked about that. You proposed it, both
Yeah, I
parties
think
are on
we
the same
did.
page. I think we can initial all of these changes in this article. I don't think there's anything that's been in dispute with the changes that your team and our team have been making. And then on,
This one is fine.
Yeah.
so you want
That's
to
just a name
initial
change.
that?
yeah, I thought we'd already done that.
Yeah.
We might have last year.
Yeah, I thought we
I'm
did.
just initial, starting on page 28.
Yeah.
My hearing aids on, so I can hear everything.
Uh-oh.
Because, with the teams going on and COVID, I didn't really need them. Because it was, I could pull the volume on
Oh,
my
yeah.
computer. But when I came into this room last time, I realized I couldn't hear very well. So I had to drag them out of their dusty corner.
Are they hard to get used to again?
It's not really. It's everything's so loud.
Oh. Yeah, a little less control.
More subdued.
Yeah.
Or less subdued with them on, actually. It's funny because I had hypersensitive hearing when I was younger. A dog barking or a kid making a noise in the house would bother me. But
Well, I think I'd rather be this way than that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I have right now a alarm in my house, a fire
There's
alarm.
one more
That
you
battery
missed,
has been chirping for months and
Page 31.
I don't even notice it. I could tune out or anything.
we had a dog that if that happened would
31.
tear up the house.
Yeah, this is just the elimination of that.
It's so
redundant
high.
language.
Oh, yeah.
Door inside.
Yeah, we did away with it.
Must have been hurting.
He just.
Oh, wow.
I got old years there.
Okay. All right, so moving right along.
And by the way, just because I just want to mention that this parental leave paid program,
4 people.
what we're doing is we're taking
13
away
people.
the requirement, the commitment to reimburse. So that again is something that is good for the faculty and
Right.
should be something the union would support. Because before they would have to pay back
Right.
any parental leave.
Yeah, I said reimbursement universe salary received during the leave period, right?
Yeah.
And these were May in there, so.
All right, the next article is 20, Article 23, procedure and arbitration. This is one of the articles that you opened that you wanted changes to. And I will refer first to a page that is just a,
John, did you see this page too?
yes, we did. We created that one too. Thank you. Yes, here. On page 42, line 2305, we just capitalized the university there. That's all that is. And then on page 43, this is the change that you wanted. The one thing we did is we're proposing that FMCS, Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, be used rather than AAA. But that's basically what you know, the way you wanted it.
Yeah.
And so I think we can agree that. And then secondly, we did on page 44, having to do with filing and notifications under section 20.9. We're proposing that be amended to say all documents related to grievances required or permitted to be used or filed may be transmitted by U.S. mail, email, or other recognized delivery service as described. So we're again updating the agreement, modernizing it. So we think this is probably those two. And then the last one has to do with non-binding mediation. That was something that your team expressed was important to you to finally have a mediation provision in the agreement. We pretty much adopted your language, tweaked it a little bit, used FMCS, again, referencing FMCS. And again, saying you're not required, the parties may utilize it, but, you know, if you don't want to use it, FMCS, that, you know, mutually agree to something else, somebody else, you can do that too. That's something we felt y'all really wanted, and we were never, the university was never adverse to mediation. If it can be worked out, if something dispute can be worked out, that's always best.
Okay.
You want to TA this? Or?
Yeah, what do you think, Attorney?
Yeah, I think the mediation, we've had no complaints about the adding the mediation all along that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I think we've used it a few times, even though it wasn't in here.
Yeah, it's been my experience that
Yeah.
it's rare to use mediation or arbitration, but if you want to attempt it, both parties want to attempt it and agree to it, yeah, it's certainly.
Mhm.
But we've talked to FMCS, you know, and other matters, not with this university, but FMCS, they're a source of good arbitrators, what we call arbitrators who are members of the National Academy of Arbitrators. They're seasoned arbitrators, been around a long time, have a lot of experience. We like FMCS. We think that, but it serves the union as well as management to use a service that has very highly qualified people to choose from. And FMCS will tell you that they like to try to mediate a dispute if they can. So if you want to try, they're willing to do that and use their arbiters to actually mediate. So anyway,
I can imagine some particular situations that rarely come up, but do come up, that might be appropriate.
And Bob, just
We'll see.
to finish up on that previous one that talks about email, adding email in, and it refers back to Article 3.2D. And that was simply to make sure that there's a receipt, that there's some acknowledgement from both parties that it was, that they received it.
Right.
And it can be either by a return email or by a return receipt. Same as like with a letter. It's not just you send an email and
Yeah, that's what I was.
it's got to be more than just you send an email. There's got to be some response one way or the other. So that's what that was
That
about.
would be more convenient than having to go up here and have somebody stamp it and date it, which we've done in the past. And
I know.
it was quite awkward.
And remember, we signed off on this for the
Right.
COVID anyway already, and we've been working that way for a while.
this is yours, and then I'm gonna give you mine. That's all you're fully signed. This is my copy.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Is this good or bad?
Big issue that y'all raised was the conflict of interest, Article 19, and the language, the reference that we wanted to make to the statute. And while we've agreed in this proposal not to press for that language, that does not mean that the university doesn't intend to fully follow and enforce that statutory requirement. So we want to put on the record the notion that, although, you mentioned this in our last meeting, you said, look, since it's law, it doesn't need to be in the contract. And so we take that to heart, but with the understanding that we don't want to send a message to anyone that by taking it off of our proposal and not having it in the contract, that in any way, that the contract would trump state law and statute.
Right.
And, so as long as everyone
We
understands
understand
that.
that. I mean, if there's a law out there and you all decide to enforce the law, our alternative is to go to court. I understand.
Yeah, we just want to make clear on the record that by taking this out of our proposal, so that it doesn't hold up an agreement, the university is not signaling that we don't intend to follow that statute and enforce it.
Right.
Okay.
We understand.
Right.
All right. We'll skip 23 for just a minute.
Okay.
We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Salary proposal. The one thing that probably want to look at 24 for a minute, and that's the tuition. That's on page 57.
We need to look at that, but pretty sure we'll do that.
Yeah, just
Yeah, we
I
just need
think
to
you'll
look at
find
it
it
again.
acceptable.
but-
Yeah, we addressed your
Yeah.
question on.
But we'd like to get something started there. Our only problem with this was that our proposal is that
Assets.
we can go ahead and assign our 6 hours, period. Whereas your proposal basically, that's the university develop a program and everything like that. But I think it's important. It's like when I started bargaining this and we had, I originally bargained the salary, promotion increases for instructors.
Yeah.
We got it in the contract.
Right.
And got 6, and get the 9%. So I think it's important at least to get something in the contract about this. So we'll talk about it, but feeling that we, even though we would like to say, absolutely, we can do the 6 hours every semester, that at least we have something, so we'll talk about it, but I think this will be all right. Got to get
Yeah,
something
well, just
started.
let us know. This is what we want to do for everybody at the
I
university.
know,
And,
right.
and y'all have, of course, been proposing this. And so, anyway, that's found on page 57. And that would eliminate, and that's the reason why we're deleting 3108 to 3110 on that same page, which is the language we used to have about where we would explore the subject. Well, we've not only explored it now, we've actually placed it in the agreement, so
We've
that's
been
the reason.
exploring it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only have you have been exploring it, but the Senate has brought it up.
Right.
The Senate
Oh, yeah.
president, it came up, and I had appointed a committee to look at it as well. So it's been an
Because that was
ongoing
interesting, of course, now if your grandparents live in Florida, I guess if you're a student, you could get in-state tuition. They do that, so. Interesting.
Okay, let's go to page 59 under miscellaneous, Article 27. Just let's do copies of the agreement. We're proposing to eliminate where we have to supply copies.
So Greg, what do you think about that? This is our secretary.
Oh, we're not gonna have 1,000 CDs again?
It's, I want an electronic copy that I can actually break down into pieces and post as an HTML online. That's what I want.
Well, we're proposing that the university maintain a copy of the ratified agreement and all supplements, and that be placed on the university website where everybody has access to it. And that's what our proposal is. And no more
That's, and it's just
having
driving me
to
crazy.
supply, 200 or however many copies, 2,000 copies.
Right. Well, can you download that onto a CD? Wow.
Why?
No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
Does anybody have a CD player at this point? It's like-
I do.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
In my computer yesterday, the brand new one, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, that's our proposal. You can look at that.
I know an
Duration,
attorney.
we're-
I know
we're
an
gonna be
attorney who uses
proposing for
CDs just to be in
CBA,
writing.
so it's 3-year agreement still. And the appendices, I want to make sure that we go through it. Let's make sure to remind you that we have made some revisions to Appendix B as in Boyd under the dues check
Yeah.
off thing. And again, we've eliminated any social security number and things that we didn't, and we've added an email address and apartment and unit numbers as well as an address. Anyway, modernize, we believe, and legalize the appendices such that we don't violate somebody's privacy interest by providing things like social security number,
Right.
which I'm not so sure you need. The other thing too is Appendix F, which is the one that Jim spent many hours on. Jim, you may want to comment on about this, but I know that he spent a lot of time, and we think that it's helpful to both parties the way Jim is updated.
I had to make flow charts, and I had to figure out, well, what is the purpose of this in the first place?
How long does it take and how many people? are you-
Yeah, and so that guided, trying to make it timely is the most important
Right.
thing, because an appointment, obviously, if you get an assignment you don't like, it's got to be resolved quickly. And so I shortened it where I could and had to make it longer where I had to, but the whole thing is designed to be done more quickly. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that many fewer steps than it did before, but it does have fewer steps. And what I'll do, if we agree to this, is I will provide a flow chart
I was just gonna
Okay.
to everybody. So we'll have that as a backup for
Okay.
it.
Let me ask you this, how is I really forget, but how is the assignment provided? Is that, 15 days you have to receive the assignment?
Well, now it's done in FIS, so
Yeah,
it's done
it's
electronically.
done in Archivum or FIS, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
But you had, there's your chair, like there's somebody lets you know.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
the
you do.
assignment, you gotta find it.
Right.
they have to now. And
Mhm.
when they set the FIS up, they made sure it was consistent with the CBA. That's where they got a lot of the steps that they do for assignment and evaluation in FIS. So, yeah. Absolutely.
So again, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this such that we can initial it, or do you want to study it some more?
We can look it over, but I think, I guess the only problem that we thought about, I know why you wanted to get it done faster. It's interesting, we increased the number of days the employee has to file and increased the number of days that the administrator has to respond.
Well, that's because it's hard to put a group
know.
together.
I was gonna say,
When
does
they're
it
busy
still have
people.
the same panel that you have to pick from and stuff? Is that, I don't know, I haven't looked at this.
God, now I don't remember.
In other words, the time.
The umpire
time
didn't
consuming-
change.
Yeah, one of the time
What line
consuming
are you looking
parts
at?
is to get the neutral
Yeah,
umpire.
it's line 17, 14,
37.
37, 24.
Yeah, if there is that, well, we can discuss it more, but, as well as I
We
do.
just select an umpire as needed as opposed to have a
Thank you.
group of people there. That's
Yeah,
what you
I
wanted.
think that having the group of people has been the, more difficult.
Yeah, and we never did.
Yeah, it's just almost impossible.
It's always been that
Yeah.
we would pick an umpire at the time.
Yeah.
And I've only done one of these in my 4 years.
Yeah.
doing this.
Okay.
We think this is an improvement and certainly a step forward in the right direction. That this is really Jim's idea and our team, not something that y'all proposed, I don't believe, but we felt important. And let me say this just generally about all of our proposals. These are all contingent upon, it's all tentative agreements. We're initially these, but we all need to understand that the university has backed down from a lot of things that the university wanted to accomplish at the table in making other changes. But in order to reach an agreement, we put those aside and not included them in this document. And, but I think that needs to be said, and I know the same things come from you too, Bob. You've actually withdrawn some of yours, although you added, I think, a whole bunch last time. But not to be critical at all. I think both sides have tried to reach an agreement, but we need to understand that this document is largely status quo with the improvements that y'all had wanted on a lot of things, and adding things that were important to you, and we recognize that. And as Jim said, we heard you, but it's all with the notion of trying to reach an agreement.
Yeah.
And but if we aren't successful, both parties reserve the right to readdress and reconsider all of these things. And that's the way it should be understood, and I'm sure you appreciate that.
And I would ask you to TA Appendix B right now. Just, we can't keep asking for social security numbers.
Oh,
That's really an old.
you said something last time, if you don't mind if I ask a question, because Jim had mentioned last time, Zach Lisner, you said that you had looked into the research faculty designation. Is there anything in Appendix A that designates the difference in the titles between those people who are on a soft money versus those who are on a line that is there something different in their code or anything that
There's a code. It's not the job code. It's another field on
Okay.
GEMS. But what we've done this past year is we've provided job codes that are distinct, so it's clear who's what. Because it used to be, you could be let's say 9003 is an assistant professor, right? So you could be an assistant professor, and that person could be a research professor, in which case they're not tenure track, or they could be a tenure track professor, or they could be maybe a clinical over in USF Health. They could, there's lots of other things they could be. And it used to be they could be an adjunct. They could put an adjunct attribute to that. So what we've done is, for academic affairs anyway, is we now have completely separate job codes for tenure track faculty. That's the 9003, et cetera, the regular ones. And then we have separate job codes for the research assistant, research associate, and research professor. Separate job codes for instructors and separate job codes for professors of instruction. And we've got another one that's forget what it's called, professor of practice. And that one doesn't have a
that's like a
rank.
clinical.
Or some kind of expertise where they want to bring somebody in temporarily for expertise. So that it's a time limited contract.
I only brought it up.
We're
We've
gonna
had
bring those to
governance
you.
and constitution meetings on other places.
Yes.
People are trying to define who is what. and the governance documents and promotion and things like this. And it's still somewhat confusing in
Yeah.
some cases, because some of them, they look a lot alike, but this one's on soft money and this one's clinical and this one's an instructor with a research assignment or a clinical assignment. This one's a person who's got a research title, and it gets completely out of control, as you know.
It
And that's
does.
why I'm asking, because it's in Appendix A.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it turns out when we read Appendix A, I thought we are gonna have to negotiate everything, that any changes we want to make to Appendix A,
Yes,
but we
yeah.
don't have to.
It's,
So
we've done it.
we'll do that in one of our Friday morning
Okay.
meetings.
All right.
And I'll give you the whole
Because
list.
that one need to be clear.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. I'm happy to.
Thank you.
We just were trying to clarify the whole,
Yeah.
the whole system, because the fact that a tenured tenure track professor could have the same job code as an adjunct or the
Mhm.
same as a research assistant professor just made no sense.
Made no sense.
So,
Gotcha.
but, and you really had to dig through gems to find out what they really were.
Yeah, and they were in the wrong number too sometimes. They were
Yeah, I
hired with
remember
the
when we
wrong
had all
number
that.
on.
Yeah. I found all those when I was
Yeah.
sifting, looking for who was our research faculty. It took me about 2 months to figure out who our research assistant, associate, and full professor.
Well, thank you, because I know it's still an issue, so that's why
Yeah.
I asked.
Yeah. And that's still in progress, but
I wonder if in Appendix B, you have an employee ID. Could you maybe put in employee USF ID?
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah, that's what we mean.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, we could, why don't y'all look at these and.
That would be a good addition, so you know it's your
We can do that.
USF ID.
Sure.
Right.
oh, it's not in here at all.
It just says
The
employee
ID
ID.
is
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we just-
Oh, yeah.
we-
See, I just remember the joke I tell in class about the bankruptcy proceeding, and the judge asked this fellow, he asked dependents, you have two dependents. Well, who the heck are they? And he answered in Spanish, everybody laughed. What did he say? He said, my dog and parrot. And so just say that's his dependents. So I mean, I'm saying somebody that says employer ID, who knows what they give you? I don't know.
Mhm.
I think that's a
Put
good
a
one.
USF in there.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
so let's turn to page 50, which is the beginning of our proposal on Article 23. And we'll walk through this with you. The first page is just, we took the old contract and stricken through the current language in the contract. And really where it begins is on page 51. We're proposing, as I've mentioned in the duration, a 3-year contract. We're really excited to put this on the table, this proposal on the table. And it's in a way historic. I don't think that I can ever remember the university putting this kind of an economic package before at the table. And it certainly eclipses what we've done for anyone else. And we all need to understand what I'm sure we treat this table. Every single employee of the university is important and critical to the operation. We're all together, working together to make this university a wonderful place to work and to provide education. So every employee, whether it be the custodian who cleans these offices that we're in, or whether it be the clerical workers who are working at the desk to get the paper moved and everything like that, all of us are very important, including of course, the faculty. But the first year, we're proposing a $2,000, which is what you were proposing, a $2,000 lump sum one-time bonus that would be made for the 2022 academic year, the 21-22 academic year. That's and we would also have, of course, the 1% discretion in that year. That's really important. This discretion piece, as we go through here, is money that the 1% will go to the faculty, that the faculty ends up enjoying that, the resources for that. So but anyway, the first year is the merit lump sum, not added to the base. We had originally had it as a percentage. You wanted it as a flat amount. We listened to you, and we're proposing that we accept that idea of yours, okay? We have the eligibility criteria because it is a merit-based, so it's the same criteria that we've kind of been proposing and using the past on evaluation. So that's in there. We also have that you can't have the active performance improvement plan on your record in order to get this bonus. You must have been actively employed on the date the bonus is paid.
I made a mistake there. That was in our original proposal. I was gonna tell you, the problem we get, let's suppose it's gonna be paid on May the 15th. And you're not employed in summer school. So you're not employed. I thought about that after I made this. I'm thinking, well, we've gone on so long in negotiations, by the time this thing is gonna be ratified and we're gonna get a bonus payment, it's gonna probably be after, the
Well, that-
spring
that
semester
would-
is
It would
over.
exclude those people that you're talking
Well, but it
about.
worries me, it says
We
actively
always
employed.
interpreted, we've always used that language where you had to be employed on the time. We've never excluded
Right.
people like you're talking about.
We're on working in summer. We can make
But
that.
I'm just pointing out that, I know you all wouldn't do that
The idea is not to exclude. this.
because 90% of the faculty wouldn't be working in the summer.
That's not.
Well, I know, but I
And
think
the point is-
after I put that in there, it was back then and I'm saying, well, here we are. I suppose it might not be paid.
Now you've given us some great ideas.
Yeah, no.
We would have never, honestly,
Well, I know.
that's not anything that is a problem.
But it is true that, there are people who will not be employed in the summer.
And I believe there's a Board of Trustees meeting coming up pretty soon. In June.
If
Right.
this could get
Yeah, I mean-
ratified, it would happen, we'd have a special meeting.
Because I had thought maybe you put in here are actively employed as of May the 1st. I'm just giving an example, what I thought I could have proposed when we got to ours, be like May the 1st, so that way there wouldn't be any question.
So,
But I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, we don't, it's not the intent.
Yeah, I know.
So
Well,
we
aren't- we can't collect
I
unemployment
don't-
in the summer, so aren't we still actively employed?
Huh?
We can't collect unemployment in the summer just because we didn't take a summer
No, you
class.
can't.
So we still are actively employed.
Yeah, we don't mind clarifying that if that's important to you.
Yeah.
That's an opinion we talked about, remember, Jerry, we talked about this last year or so, about are you employed in the summer? And it said, well, got the insurance, well, but we pay for our insurance
In advance, yeah.
in advance, so we don't pay for anything in the summer.
But you
Yeah,
wouldn't have it if
okay.
you were not an employee. It would end.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so, but that was always the question about if you're an employee.
Yeah, you have to go on Cobra every summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, okay, I just. wanna
So
make sure.
obviously, time is of the essence on this because this is for the 22
Yeah.
academic year. We've got to get a ratification by, you folks, and then we've got to take it to our board of trustees. And so that's really important on timing on this. So we're getting down to the wire. I guess everybody should realize that. The second year, as you see, now again, that's with 1% discretion plus the $2,000 lump sum merit bonus. That's the first year, this 3-year deal. The second year is what I call the 23 academic year. The 20 starts in August of 22. It goes through, July of 23. And so that's the 23, the second year. We're proposing a merit-based increase of 3.5% added to the base with no contingencies whatsoever, not tied to any contingencies. And y'all need to realize, as we do, that the governor ain't signed anything. But we're putting this on the table, and the university is giving us authority to put this on the table. We get an agreement, that's our agreement, and it will be awarded without any contingency here. With a 1% addition to this, salary adjustment. Which again, when you add it together, 3.5, another 1%, that's 4.5% in the second year that really we're proposing.
Where's the 1%?
Coming in at the prior page
What
with the
page?
2,000.
That's what I'm looking for.
He's talking about the
Yeah.
discretionary.
Go to the bottom of 51 and the top of 52. That's where I am, Bob. I'm in the second year of the proposal.
3.5%.
You with me?
Okay.
Base
Right,
with no restriction, no contingencies,
but that's a total of 3.5%.
Plus the 1%.
plus the
discretion.
1% discretion.
Oh, yeah, the ADI.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet.
But I'm just
Okay.
telling you, when you
Right.
get to that, but I want to emphasize that there's a 1% discretion in every one of these years.
Yeah.
Uh, We've got the eligibility date in lines 2815 through 2820, where you have to be employed on or before August 7, 2022 for this 22-23 year. And for the 23-24 year, you have to be employed on or before August 7, 2023.
And for the 3.5, you have to be employed through.
For the 2,000, you're looking at the $2,000 bonus, the eligibility?
Yeah, I
Okay,
had
we got that in there.
3.5%.
Yeah, y'all were after, I think, a date, if I recall, of January 1, 2000.
Yeah, I think we did say that or something.
We,
You got August the 7th, 2022.
so that's
Okay.
That's
You
for
would
the-
ask us, you know,
that's for the 22-23 year.
and yes, we do represent everybody, but, you know, in some ways, these people were hired on August the 7th, 2021. Probably they came in at salaries way, way more than most of the people in,
We think they should get the bonus.
yeah.
Our proposal. is
And,
that
but
they
you
get
also
the
give them
bonus as well.
3.5 too? They get the 3.5 and the bonus, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they don't have an evaluation.
So they would have one, I guess it depends. They
Yeah,
might have one
evaluation.
semester evaluation.
Well, right now, I don't have my evaluation yet for
Most
2021.
recent evaluation.
Yeah,
That's the problem. It makes the
And
compression
that's
inversion
within the
worse.
last
It does.
2 years. We'll take anything within the last 2 years.
Okay, so let's go, you're hired in August of 2021. Okay, and when you're saying they would be eligible, if they have a certain evaluation,
Yeah, they've been here a year. They were hired in
you have
August.
to hire in August of 2021.
They've been here an academic year. By the time this gets done, if it gets done.
I don't see how they would have, how those people would have an evaluation.
It's a, I mean, if their department head given them an evaluation,
Because I know I think that what the evaluations are like annual, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, is your department giving someone who came in August of 2021 an evaluation with that
Yeah,
one
I think
semester?
so. Sure they do.
They are?
Yeah.
Just based on the time that they've been there.
And of
Yeah, they
course,
do something.
if they're lucky, they're not going to see that until March or April.
Well, unless they're an axe murderer, they all got really high evaluations. They only had one semester. Some of them came in with research funding bonuses, and they came in, so they
They should.
might have taught a class for the first time. It depends on who it is, but yeah, so that's fine. I mean, I understand.
Well, but the other point is, they're getting money based on their evaluation.
Right.
We didn't propose that, but that's the proposal of the university. To look at their evaluation, it's not just across the board.
Right.
So for
It's
one
merit
semester,
based. This is merit based.
right, so that they have if they have an evaluation for one semester, and they get, let's say, a 4.5 or something, well, they're getting a full percent of their base salary.
Right.
I'm just.
Anyway, that's our proposal.
Yeah,
I think it's
to
the fairest
talk
thing
about
to do. The, again, with a 1% in that second year discretion as well, which that's where I got the 4.5%. You had 3.5 to 1%. That's 4.5. It goes, every penny, this is going to go into the pockets of the.
John, can you give me an idea how much of last year you spent with the ADI? Anybody know? How much of that money you had the authority to spend? How much did you spend?
I think we had ADI last year.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that.
We haven't had any authority this past year.
Right, but I took that away, right? I understand that. So it's zero.
But how much of the percent that we use when we have it depends on the funding situation and how much money we have to just,
I
to
understand.
just spend.
It's just authority.
But every bit that we do spend goes into your bargaining unit's pocket. It's all spent for the unit.
course, the union is concerned about whose pocket it goes into also. You know, you're right, we represent everybody, but also we have to sometimes
But
draw
some more than
lines
others.
about where the money should go.
All are equal, but some more than others.
Yeah, maybe we should say, well, next year, let's give no promotion raises and put all the money across the board for the 1,600 faculty members. I'm sure the people that got promotions would think that's a very good idea.
Well, I mean, the way this works is that the lion's share of the increase, more than that, goes to the general increase. And most faculty are evaluated highly. So it's a small portion that's reserved for discretion of the amount of money that's on the table. You know, 3.5 going to just about every faculty. 1% goes to discretion, which will go to a smaller group of faculty. That's true in every year of discretionary.
Yeah, we've looked at this, the ADI, and sometimes it's not used. The complaint that we've been consistently getting from the members for the last 2 or 3 years has been one of compression or equity or something like that. I don't have any problem with a merit-based system. I think we all are aware of that. I think that the wrench that's been thrown in has been the situation we've got with regional campuses and different department sizes of being so much more better funded, so much larger than others. And so the rich get richer and the poor don't catch up. And that kind of issue has continued with these formulas. Your pool is smaller, so even if you've got a 5 rating, outstanding rating, you get $2,000, and somebody with a 4 rating in this other more wealthy pool is getting a $3,000 raise, and so you just get further and further behind. We've seen this phenomenon with a subset of our faculty, and that's why on our surveys we keep getting that response. And so that's only, it's not that it's merit that's the issue, it's the way the pools are designed or the way the merit is given out. And I don't, we can point to an individual person, but that showed up on the last, let's see, I've done 3 surveys.
So
It showed up on all the last 3 surveys I've done in the last
have
2
we
years.
done a general increase since we've had college-wide,
Wasn't the 1.5 and
university-wide campus,
2019,
university-wide colleges?
wasn't that across the board, the 1.5 in November?
I think it was still,
I
you had to
don't-
have at least the 3, I don't remember. But
I don't
I
know.
think you might see some
Yeah.
difference with now larger departments.
If you're part of a
University-wide
department,
departments.
well, I mean, you're right. If you're in Sarasota or St. Pete or in some other small department, yes, you would then now be equated with somebody in, say, a Tampa department that was larger. But you're chasing your tail. In other words, and I know this because of my own situation. For 10 years, I was part of the Tampa department, and myself and 2 other members who were hired at the same time had almost equivalent salaries for the same rate. When we separated in 2002, 2005, now I'm 20, 30,000 behind the exact same people with the exact same rank. Because every year I got another 1,000, 2,000 behind for 10 years. And so let's say that we had this and I had a 4 or 5 rating, I would still come out 1,000 or 1,500 probably. I mean, I'm still never going to catch up. And the only way to catch up is to have some formula that catches you up. In other words, that's why we've put this compression formula in, is because until we actually do some active thing to compare you to a base, we don't have any way to fix it. Even if the departments are now merged, it would help. At least we won't have the smaller pool get further behind. But you could use ADI to do it.
You could use ADI.
You could use ADI.
Yeah,
The-
well, it says
the-
it says in here that it can be used for
But
compression.
I guess so far our chancellors or whoever they are, whatever you call them,
Done that.
deans on regional campuses, when we've studied ADI, we see a lot of it not used. But as far as regional campuses, it's like the last ADI that I saw on the St. Pete campus was when Bill Heller was there. Bill Heller gave me an ADI raise back, which we're talking about 15, 20 years ago.
And the faculty
Yeah.
senate on the
And so
campuses.
the chancellors and other various administrators on the regional campus have almost no incentive or desire to use ADI for this thing. So even
not what I've
when,
heard.
yeah,
I've not heard either of them say that.
Well, the faculty
I know.
at St. Pete, the faculty council on
Yeah.
St. Pete campus is looking at this right now.
Yeah,
Because
our
we're
council
behind
in
every
St.
year.
Pete has looked
Every
at
year
it,
we
yeah.
get further apart.
No,
of our-
we're
from
looking
our-
at salary equity now.
Okay.
We did a study for staff, and I believe will be looked at for faculty. But I've heard both Dr. Holbrook and Dr. Tadlock talk
Yeah.
about salary equity.
Well, nothing's
oh
been-
yeah, I know Tedlock's heard about it because I
Yeah.
personally brought it up to him
Obviously,
many times. But I know he's heard about it. But in my college and in your college, we haven't seen.
any-
Karen, have you seen any ADI raises in your department or
No.
anything? No?
The last one I know of personally was under Jeremy Franklin,
Yeah.
but I don't know what Sri did, and I
Okay.
don't know what.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that and just say that I understand the merit basis for raises. I don't have any beef with that per se. But just be aware that it does continue to come up, and well, what I'm trying to do is get people to vote for something and to ratify something. And when something's number one, 2-3 times in a row on my survey, I get nervous
Well,
because I'm thinking, I don't know how many people we're talking about, but it's, so just be aware.
Right. Some of the things that we hear, for instance, our salary
you just
proposal,
brought it up.
it was
Yes.
basically across the board, which meant that the higher people were gonna get more money if there's compression inversion. But if you remember, our proposal had a compression inversion part.
Oh, yeah.
Formula.
Yeah,
We know
well,
that.
I'm just saying, we did that.
We
So
know that.
when these people said to me, well, wait a minute, your salary proposal of 4%, whatever, it's just, not doing anything about the problem we got. It's, oh, no, wait a minute here. We based that 4% across the board on doing something on compression inversion. Now, one thing that, as I remember, that your proposal this time, I don't think I've ever seen this before, is that, say, like, let's suppose in the department, you have, 10 people, and they get a 3.5 and a 4 and a 4.5 and everything. You add all those up, and then you divide by the money that they got. Let's say the department gets like a certain amount of money, say $20,000, and 2% of their salary, whatever it is. And then you add all those points up and you divide it and you get so much per point. What you've added this time, and I don't think I've ever seen this before, is now you're multiplying that times the base salary of the employee. The score of each shall be at the base salary of the employee. I don't ever remember that before. Maybe I'm wrong. Almost before, you would add up the points, the total points, and then you figure how much is each point worth, and that's the money they would get.
Mhm.
Okay? And therefore, that took away a little bit of the problem of compression inversion, because it was based solely, you understand.
Well,
on-
that actually came in from meetings that I had with you guys several years ago,
Yeah.
where there were people were complaining, and I experienced it when I was a chair, that, and let's say an instructor compared to a full professor, and let's say it was a 3% raise, the instructor would get like a 5 or 6% raise, and the full professor would get a 1 or 2% raise
Right.
with the old formula.
Absolutely.
And there were a lot of complaints about that.
Well, I'm sure the people who are highly paid complained about it. Oh, yeah, I mean, the point is, somebody's gonna complain. And so we have to look at it for what's fair.
Well, that's it.
Well, the reason I put the 4%
Yeah.
in, and we looked at, across, based across the board, because we also had a compression inversion part here. I mean, so without compression inversion, I wouldn't have done a 4% across the board, because that would have continued the problem, you understand? And then it's, of course, I haven't seen it
Well, again,
yet,
this came up out of our discussions we've had in our informal meetings for several years now, so I.
Well, the other problem that we get from our people, here's what they said. They said, well, wait a minute here. They offered 1.5%, originally 1.5%, and then 2% in the second year and 2% in the third year, all right? Well, we pulled around so long, bargaining the contract, we're into the second year. They're not really giving us anything extra. They're just saying, oh, we'll take the 1.5 you got in year one, and because we piddled around so long to get a contract, we're into year two now, so we'll put we'll take the second year and put it in now, you get the 3.5. Well, yeah, if we get 3.5 and then still get 2 and 2, but you understand, this is what we're hearing.
Well, I'm
We
sorry.
have to get this ratified.
Okay. we
But I'm just saying,
respectfully disagree with that.
Why know that?
You know, so look, our proposal, and in the third year, let me tell you what we're doing in the third year, another 2% with no contingencies whatsoever. That was something that was a holdup.
Yeah.
And no contingency whatsoever, but again, with that 1% discretion. So it's actually 3%, in that third year. So basically, we've gone back to the table with our group and said, how can we get an agreement? It is time. You've raised these issues with us, and we've heard you, as Jim said earlier, we've heard you. We've taken away the contingencies. While we don't know what's going to happen, we know that once we sign this, it's there. It's in black and white, and we got to do it. There's no contingency language in this proposal whatsoever.
That's good.
It's all been eliminated.
That's good.
I guess then you could talk about the money that the university got, and it's reoccurring money. I mean, USF,
These are reoccurring
what
expenses.
I'm saying is, no contingencies. I hope there aren't any contingencies, but I can never tell that because they see that you've got this huge amount of money that's it's reoccurring money. It's gonna be there. So you can't say, well, do we know if it's gonna be there or not? And before you did it, I agree with you, before the legislature acted, you had no idea what the money would be. We know now. We know now.
Nothing's been signed.
Nothing's been signed. Well, I don't mind holding up the agreement for a couple of weeks till the governor signs or he doesn't sign. If we're saying we really can't agree to something because we don't know what it's gonna be, well, we can wait 2 weeks to see what it's gonna be.
You've
I
been
mean-
waiting longer than that. Governor hasn't even done the budget.
Yeah. He
Well,
might.
what's
If you want to tell your membership you're going to hold up their bonuses
it's-
and everything else,
Yeah. I
No,
don't
he
mind
has to
telling
ask
that.
for the budget and then he has.
Yeah, and then he's got so many
But he has-
days
if he
after
hasn't
he asked for
requested
the
the
budget.
I thought he had
budget, then he
15
didn't start
days
the
after
time.
No, until he gets the budget.
And he
typically
has to
signs in
request
June.
it.
It'll be June before he does a special session, yeah.
And he requests it, so he has all the control over his time.
This is a proposal that we believe is extremely good faith and fair. And under the circumstances, we're very excited to be able to put it on the table. And we've tried to eliminate any hurdles that you have been expressing in order to reach an agreement. And, we hope that you'll strongly consider it.
Close
It's up
to
to
it.
you, obviously, but we have worked very hard to come
Okay.
forward with this proposal.
It's close to $19 million package.
That's right, over 3 years.
okay, can we go back to Article 6 for just a
The
second?
last money we got was November 2019.
Right, obviously, we had a very difficult year
Why
in
not?
between that.
Okay.
Let's just, if we can, I invite you to look at policy 004, which is on our website. I can send it to you. And just do a find for the term advisor, and you'll see that you can have a representative throughout the process in Title IX.
Okay.
Parties have the right to have an advisor of their choice present for all investigative meetings. It's a responsibility of
Thank
the party
you.
to provide their own advisor for their proceedings. You'll see that in the overall guidelines. You'll see that from the very beginning, from the actual information intake phase, they refer to advisors. If you're looking for the term representative, you won't find it. So the advisor is what
Okay.
And that's in the policy, you
it's in
said?
the policy 004, which is cited, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
cited
is.
in our,
Did Maddie mention that? Oh. We didn't discuss that.
Mm-mm. No, we didn't discuss that.
Well, take a look at it yourself, and what I did is I just did fine.
You have any question? Want to take a break first here?
Yeah.
One thing we'd like you to think about on 28. I don't think we ever looked at 28 in this way. 28 really doesn't give anybody any rights or duties or obligations or take anything away. All 28 says is certain things happen. If certain things happen, we agree that we will enter into immediate negotiations for the purpose of arriving at a mutually satisfactory place. I think someplace in the contract it says anytime we want to, we can agree to go back and bargain anything.
absolutely. You can always
So
do that.
basically, when you look at 28, it's really irrelevant. It really is.
No, I disagree with
Well,
you.
No, what I'm saying, when you look at it closely, It just says if certain things happen, if they happen, we agree that if it changes the contract, we will go back and we will negotiate. That's what it says. It doesn't say that we agree or not agree that these things that could happen. There's nothing in here that says that. It just says if this happens. Like we could have it here, if a meteor hits the earth, we agree to go back and negotiate.
We're not talking about meteors, we're talking about a legislative action.
Right.
Right. So
But
it's
I'm
not,
saying-
it's not a far
Well,
fetched.
Which is a lot.
Which is
less
pretty
predictable.
close. Yeah, I
No.
think that's,
We're not saying in here whether we agree they can do it or they can't do it. It just says if something happens, if this is done, we agree to go back and negotiate. The contract has a place in here that you can negotiate.
But this is obligatory, whereas the other has to be through mutual agreement. You know, yeah, look, don't throw up another hurdle for this agreement, Bob. Don't throw up a hurdle that I think really, respectfully, is a phantom issue that's been raised, and a lot of times been spent at the table to argue the constitutionality, the disagreement of a provision in the statute that the parties have memorialized in there. Don't throw this up now as a.
We've been throwing this, no, this is not something we.
No, that's right.
We bring this up
Yeah,
all the
you raise
time,
it.
all the
But
time.
Now, no, I know that. I
All the
understand.
time.
I understand that. But what I'm suggesting too is that I don't think we want to argue here and hold up.
No, the other question I asked you,
Disagreement.
can we write an agreement and say, okay, there's one article we don't agree to, go impasse on one article? Were you saying we can do that?
I don't think that's good for anybody.
Well, I'm saying, can you do it? If, you know,
We can't, let's put it this way. Conceptually, the parties could not have a contract while you argued one issue, but that doesn't mean anything else is going to go into effect. So you're going to hold up everything to argue only one point.
that was my
So yes,
question.
you could do
You
that.
can't.
But I think
I don't think our board would go for that.
Okay,
everything else would be held up. In other words, I mean, impasses are when, after a reasonable period of negotiation, the parties are unable to reach an agreement. So the agreement is unreachable over whether it be one article or three articles, but it holds up the whole contract.
But it
Over
wouldn't
maybe
happen,
one
I
article.
understand. We
Sometimes you
could.
have three or four,
We
but
could sign off on everything in this contract for 28.
it wouldn't be in effect. It wouldn't be effect. You wouldn't have a contract because you still have a provision that's in the contract to be put in the contract that's not been agreed upon. So you hold up the whole
Whole
contract.
contract, okay.
That's not in anybody's interest to do that. That's why it's not done. Yeah, technically, could it be done, but it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, what's come out of the legislature is horrible. You know, we had somebody the other day that's worked in collective bargaining for 45 years, and he said this is the worst legislature he has ever seen when beating up on, faculty. And I agree with him 100%, it is. You know, how you teach the course, what you do here, what you do there, and the whole purpose is, I was around when this happened. The Board of Governors was to take politics out of the university system. That was the purpose of it. That's why the Constitution says, that, the Board of Governors runs this place, subject to the power of the legislature to appropriate funds, period. Now, I agree with you. They can say no money for promotions. They can do that. They can say, give them this money, no money can be used for promotions. What they cannot do is say, these are the requirements you have to meet to get a promotion. Now, we disagree with that, I guess. I'm not a constitutional scholar, but I'm a lawyer, and I can read the Constitution. And it's clear, subject only to the power of the legislature to appropriate for funds. That's it. But, that's I understand what the politics are now. I understand that. And, you're fighting, it's almost like a headwind and you're just trying to buck it. I know. But we'll talk about it, but, and we got nothing on compression aversion, and he can tell you. Do you think we can get one signed? I don't know.
St. Pete is not going to be
I don't
happy
know.
about that.
I don't think we can.
We just talked about it last
Yesterday
week.
Afternoon, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were on Zoom for 2 hours yesterday afternoon, so it's gonna be.
I don't know.
And,
I don't know that I know our board would likely not accept your proposal.
I mean, USF did well.
Well, I know you want to accept 6,000 and 3,000. I know that, you know. I mean, I know that. But I mean,
But I guess
Jim
I don't.
said, you all been working on this. Well, because my joke to this guy was, hell, they've been working on it forever. We hear that.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's in the ADI. It said one of the things you can do is compression and version. But how you would do compression and version may not be how we think it's fair to do compression and version.
Well, even with those arguments all aside, there's not enough money on the table to really address salary compression university-wide anyway. It's just, there just isn't.
Well, I think our formula is not gonna bring everybody up to
Right.
the average standard. What it's gonna do is it's going to be just a step in that direction and it's satisfying some of the people that they've been recognized and they see something. Because right now, yeah, there's a lot of them.
When everybody sees this, the university
Yeah.
got the highest percent raise of any university in the state, 34%.
Yeah, we got,
So what they don't want to
USF
hear,
will.
I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
I can't go back and tell them, you know, because we've been hearing this so long. I agree with you. Until this happened, I agree. You don't know how much money you have, you don't think you can do it. That ain't
So you're
true.
changing your story from the last time we met, where you said that that you would accept something a lot less, and we went and got as close as we could to what you asked for, and now you're telling us that that's not enough either. And I
No,
just
the
don't
pay
understand it. I don't
The
even know
reason
where to go.
When we put the $2,000 bonus at 4% across the board, basically, we also had the compression and version in there. You know, so now it's not fair. Well, now you're going back on your $2,000 and 4%. Well, we had compression aversion in there. So if you say we're not going to do compression aversion, then we would have come back and say, well, fine, raise the bonus to 3,000 and across the board to 5%. I'm just telling you that that's not fair to say we're changing our proposal now because you're not including the compression aversion we had in our proposal, say. And you saw that, he sent you the survey. The top thing was compression aversion.
it was number one in the
Number
last
one.
survey, and that was before.
Why don't you explain
we
to
had
us
some of the
exactly
reasons.
how this compression inversion plan you have works before we break?
Well, that was just something to start things, you know. It was
Well, how
like,
does it work?
well, really clear. If you have whatever your OSU, you look at your area, you look at your rank, and you see what's the OSU, if you're
It's just
80,
identifying the really underpaid people.
you know, that, and then you say, okay,
Using
Pull it
those-
out.
if you're lower you're less than 65%, you get $6,000. If you're 65 to 85, you get $3,000. That can all be changed. And also you could say, well, we don't think a satisfactory is good enough. Well, maybe we'd agree to 3.5. Maybe it should be a little better than satisfactory, you know? But right now, you know, you say, well, the university is going to do something. We have no idea. I mean, we're leaving it totally discretion.
And so far, it's getting worse and worse.
And, well,
And
yeah,
people are
getting worse and
complaining more
worse.
and more.
Yeah. Well, we saw the survey. I know
Yeah.
people
It
complain.
was basically just a way it was a formula to pick out those who were outliers. We could have done it a different way, but it would have affected people who, for different reasons.
And I'd asked you at the time, I said, have you calculated what that would cost?
No, we don't have those figures.
Well,
Tried to get
I tell you what, we've had two accountants give us two big reports. We just got one a few weeks ago. And so we've done everything we can with the budget figures.
So
that are
you're
available.
unable
Number in
to,
there.
with
We
any
don't,
data.
we,
It's impossible for you with any data that you can get to calculate how much this would
I
cost.
mean, we can turn Banner over to Greg and we can spend a few weeks and we can figure out how many people it would affect. We can get the OSU reports. We've gotten them every year.
Because I have no way of knowing what this would cost. And if,
Well-
this could cost more than what we've got on the table.
Oh, no, it's not even gonna be close to that.
Plus,
There aren't that
maybe we
many
could
people.
agree.
It's not gonna be,
65%.
it's not gonna be that many people that are that much out of line.
How many have you?
Well, could we
but you
agree
don't
on a
know.
pool
You're
of
telling
them?
us, but you don't
Well,
know.
I think it'd be a good idea for us to know. And,
How,
It would.
all right, well, I will tell Greg Gascon that he will come get the numbers from you and he'll figure it out for you.
well, how about
He's very
this?
good
Could we
at that.
allocate a dollar amount toward that and we just get the most egregious cases first?
right?
We given you our best proposal. that
But we
had.
did limit it to,
And,
we
you know,
we
and we can
said
sit
a
here
certain
and talk
percentage of
about
money will be
compressed
used for it.
conversion. We can put up with other, just.
But no, the
kick the can
maximum
down the
amount
road.
it would cost you is on it.
And not have an agreement.
Because we would
today.
say there's a half
Whatever y'all
percent.
want to do, it's up to you,
We'll go and talk about
it's
that.
up to you.
And I
Yeah,
guess
we're fine, whatever you
I
decide.
also need
we
to know
respect.
too, that you're still saying it's a packet proposal. We agree to everything or nothing.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, let me say.
We can sign off on some of
We
these things.
signed off already on some of them,
Right.
okay?
You sign off
So
on
what I'm
others.
saying to you though is respectfully, is that we need to understand that we, in order to reach an agreement, we have pared down a lot of things that this university wanted and felt like they needed to have in the agreement during negotiation. And if we don't reach an agreement, these are just tentative signed off things. We go back to where we were. So it's not the end of the world, but we just need to understand a TA is not buying until we reach an agreement. And if we don't have an agreement, all this can basically go back to where we were.
And the worst thing I think is we signed off on something here and we put it up for ratification and it doesn't get ratified. That is even worse.
But I disagree
Same here.
with saying that it's an open-ended amount of money, because we've specifically said, I don't know, we've rewritten it 3 times. We'd be glad to say that 0.5% or 1%
Yeah,
goes
we
to
can
this,
put a limit.
to this formula. So you know what the top line is, its amount. And then we can adjust whether the bonuses that people get are 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 at a certain percentage, at 40% below OSU, 30% below OSU, 20% below OSU. And then you take that 1% of that and you apply it to the people that are most egregiously
Right.
behind. And we're talking about people who have rank, they're doing the job, they've got the same title,
And
they've got the same assignment, and they've got ratings of, 3s, 4s, and 5s. They're not slackers. Their annual ratings, even from Tampa
well,
Department.
here's another issue
Our
that
fours and
makes it
90%
worse.
of the faculty here get 4 and 5s. I mean,
But-
that's
But there's
not much
another
of an
issue that
argument.
makes it worse
Yeah.
too, because now we're all on the same scale as far as the way we're being judged.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
people in St. Pete, Sarasota haven't had the same resources. So they're behind the ball too in comparison to their counterparts in Tampa who are getting higher evaluations because they are able to do more. So that makes it worse
Well, in
again.
terms of research.
Right,
And
'cause
that-
research-
That concerns me about the merit
Right.
increases.
But there is a limit to the amount of money, and you can adjust the amount of the raises or the cusp or strike point that causes you to get one to fit how much money you've got. Because right now, what we have, and the St. Pete Council's had me come in and
I've-
talk to them, and
I've been put on
had
a
you
special
come in and
committee.
talk to them. They've got a committee. Same thing's
To
going on in
study it.
Sarasota, and it happens because to them, it's a clear issue. Now, I don't know if there's enough votes to vote something down, but it is an issue, so it's,
And it is worse because like in my department, the FT50, do you know what the chances of me hitting the FT50 are anytime soon? So that affects my evaluation, which affects my pay, which is already way under my counterparts in Tampa.
But
And
you're
that
at
is-
3 or higher, so you're going to get whatever we have on the table.
Oh, but that's not how it reads. I mean,
Well,
if you look
not
at
if we do the
formula,
point,
if
yeah.
you- What did it say? You have a formula in here, so using the most recent annual evaluation, each employee's numerical score in each area of the assigned activity shall be multiplied by the assigned FTE if applicable. So basically, yes, you are eligible to get it if your score is higher than 3. But then if you do
But the
the
amount.
formula here, people who
So you're
Or further
saying somebody what you're saying is somebody with a 3.8 might not get as big a raise as somebody with
With
a
a 5.
3.9.
Yeah.
Who already has all those
Right,
resources and is
that's
way ahead of
basically
us.
what it says, that's
And we came into the game with
So
less
then you
resources
have-
and less money.
I mean, first of all, those of you who don't know me, I'm the grievance chair. So this is, I'm dealing with this like every day of my life, including Saturday and Sunday. And I have a lot of very unhappy faculty in Sarasota, Manatee, and St. Petersburg because they've never had the degree of funding for research. They've had traditionally higher teaching loads. And now in the College of Business especially, they're being judged by the Financial Times Top 50, which
And I'm in
with the
accounting.
resources we had on the regional campuses, we wouldn't even dream of those because years.
They take 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We haven't had that ramp up time.
Yeah, so the way that this merit is written, and I've read it
Then
several
we get
times
further
now,
behind.
is that higher increases will go to faculty and lower increases to Sarasota, Manatee, and St. Pete. That's basically, like I said, I have a lot of complaints about the,
If we didn't, I was just appointed to a task force a week ago to study this. So it is an issue on the regional campuses, or whatever we're calling them now.
I guess one question about the bonus, really the bonus is not, everyone's satisfactory is not gonna get $2,000, right?
not the way it's written.
That's the way I read this,
What you just
For
asked,
the bonus.
the bonus, that
it's $2,000 bonus,
it's a pot, it's a pool though that goes in each department.
but it would be the $2,000.
For the bonus doesn't depend on the pool.
Will provide a pool of
It's a
funds each
merit
department.
lump sum, so you don't get.
We
But
give
whatever we
everybody
get,
the
if you're
$2,000,
satisfactory-
Assuming you meet those qualifications, you're gonna get the $2,000.
So you have to just have a 3 or better, right?
That's right.
For
Okay.
the, for the
Simple as
bonus,
that.
but not for the
That's
raise.
fair, that's fair. Yeah, we wouldn't want to underperform people.
No, you have to have a 3.
Even though I'm not sure that I would agree that everyone's getting nothing but boards and funds, because in my
That's
department,
not
that's
true.
not true.
Well, in
In my
research,
department, we have some people who do not
well, and
get
right now in research,
all
it's-
outstanding ratings.
I'm not
yes.
getting 5s in research when I'm coming in trying to do in the FT50,
Yeah.
and that's 50%
I
of
guess
my,
the question, why is the money going to the department? Why doesn't your proposal just say every employee with a 3 or better gets $2,000?
We've always worded it as a pool. That's the way we kind of work in the system.
Okay.
And that's all. It's been used throughout bargaining agreements that we've been taking.
Yeah, but if I look
Mechanics of
at
how we
the,
do it.
Okay.
if I look at the second paragraph under 2B.
What page are you on, Karen?
I'm on 51, and it's 2B, using the most recent annual evaluation. That whole paragraph tells me that not everybody's going to get $2,000 in their raise.
Well, that's, what I don't like, it says each eligible employee is defined in section 23(1)(a)(2).
about the bonus, it has that on it.
And it's
Well, the
also
bonus
called a
would-
merit
the full
lump
bonus,
sum bonus.
Not a fraction of a bonus, the full bonus.
Okay.
We can clarify that.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to pay the 2,000 annually.
Okay.
And then you also said earlier that everybody is going to get automatically 3.5% starting off 7/22. But then we're being sent back to that second paragraph on the prior page, which says using the most recent annual evaluation. And then you basically come up with this formula on how that 3.5 bonus is going to be distributed. So that's
Base,
not
not bonus.
everybody is going to get 3.5.
No, there'll be some variation. There will be variation on the base increase,
Okay.
100%.
But again, you
Not
see
the
the
bonus.
problem that this causes because of the way we have differences between the campuses.
See, what about the bonus again? See, it says it's defined in 23(1)(a)(2). Well, 1(a)(2) has an A and a B.
That's right.
Now, I have no problem with A, and I have no problem with the first paragraph of B. But then when you get into this next paragraph, it seems like then we're doing all
Because
kinds
it's
of,
repetitious. If you
Right.
read the whole thing, I'll explain that.
Yeah, but that's not what
That's
You're
kind of
looking
my-
at the second and the third years, that the merit.
no, the bonus.
I know
Because
that's
it refers in the
bonus.
bonus to
But
that
It
paragraph.
concerns me that it says employee defined in section 23(1)(a)(2). Well, 1(a)(2) has an A and a little b. Well, I haven't any problem with the A and the first paragraph in B, but the second paragraph goes in then to dividing everything, multiplying this and that.
B is everything from lines 2762 to 2793 are part of B.
Right.
So what are you asking?
Well, that would make
Why
it
is
seem
the-
like you don't get the $2,000. if
Right,
you're
why don't you take
satisfied.
out that section, that reference on line, what is that, 55,
No,
54?
2774 on.
Take off the,
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So it's the section 23(1)(a)(2) and 23(1)(d)(2).
We'll tweak that. We'll see what your point is. We'll tweak that.
Yeah, but then also,
Yeah.
what about the 3.5%? Because
Yeah,
earlier
that's a
you
good
said
point.
everybody gets 3.5%.
We can
No,
talk
that's
about,
not true.
We can clear that out.
we can clear that up.
Everybody doesn't get the 3.5%, no. That's under our proposal, they get it if you're 3 or better.
Yeah, this is still going to the points of making the inversion and compression thing
This is
worse.
the same language we've used in past contracts.
In the past, we weren't all like this. I mean, this is
Well,
a
in the past
thing
contracts,
that's gotten worse.
we haven't gotten a raise for 2 years either. And the inflation is going like sky high.
And we've got more differences between campuses now than we've ever had in.
Right.
We've always bargained as one system.
Yeah, but it's gotten a lot worse now that like I said, now we're being judged on the same playing field. We weren't like that before. We set our own evaluation criteria. Now we're up with Tampa's criteria. We're getting further behind.
And that's basically it. So all the departments, all the colleges accepted Tampa criteria.
Right.
For the regional
We had no
faculty.
choice.
And yes, it was very nice that we
Yeah,
waited
we can
2
clear
years
this.
to make
Well,
sure
yeah,
that
the-
it takes more than 2 years.
St. Pete, Sarasota did get, I mean, I put the sheet up there. The sheet that we got yesterday, the increase in percent for USF was 34%, but there was another 10% for St. Pete and another 15% for Sarasota in that budget. And, a couple of other little things like nursing and, buildings and
Little things.
little things, $60 million building. But yeah, I mean.
By the
St.
way, the
Pete, Sarasota-
buildings were flow through federal money.
Right, yeah,
It's not even from the state.
but that's not, yeah, it didn't show up on that, but.
Well, look, why don't we,
Yeah, but okay,
we're
break.
hearing you,
All right,
so
let's
why
take a
don't we
break.
take
Yeah,
our
I just-
break and we can all talk
Yeah.
separately and then come back
But
and
that makes
discuss.
more sense, doesn't it, when we explain what's happening with our
Yeah,
people?
I think I understand where you're coming from. So-
Yeah, and I know we keep bringing it up, and I realize that it's not on the front of your mind, but it is something that keeps coming up for us.
It's getting stronger.
And so,
Well, they're aware of salary equity.
Yeah.
The university's gonna study that. But that's not currently part of this.
well, we're just offering a solution now.
That's not, but you haven't costed it, you haven't applied it.
Like
you
we
haven't-
said, we'll be happy to
Well,
put
we
a
can
pull
put
to
a
it, put a
cap-
But we
cap
can
on
put a
it.
cap on it.
Then
so
we
that
don't need to
know
cost it. We
That it can
will
be
right
no
here
more
at the
than a
table.
certain amount. Yeah.
But actually.
Yeah, we can do that.
We could just put a cap on it then. We don't, then you just address the most egregious cases and next time we renegotiate that.
Yep.
That's the same formula.
Well, you did that at Georgia Southern. I got a pay increase my second year because it had gone up that much.
We agree with you. on
And we
that.
did the same way. We just had a cap and get the worst people first.
Florida Gulf Coast did it in their marketing. They hired an outside consultant, came in and did exactly that.
Well, we don't even need an outside.
We'd like to pay the $30,000 for
What
it.
you're suggesting was hitting the people that are just so far
Right.
out.
Right.
It's something we suggested to the College of Nursing League probably 8 years ago.
And it hasn't happened yet, though, has it?
Well, she didn't apply what we suggested, and now discussion's gone away, so now it's
You
not.
want to know us when you're ready?
All right.
Yeah.
I know, it is an issue. It's an issue at every
And
university.
Dr. Morrison Eden was aware of it. We talked about how to do it, and she just never did.
Right, and that's why we'd like to try to get that, because it's not being implemented and it's getting worse.
And we were very clear. We had a spreadsheet that said, do these people first. These
Yes,
people that
that's what we did at Georgia Southern, but we did it, and it was, I mean, it takes time.
So why she didn't do it, I couldn't tell you.
Nice seeing you.
I
know, it's-
Oh, good, yeah.
Just text me. Who knows what they'll say? Or email me, whatever you want to do, or call me.
I'll text you.
You got it.
I can text. I texted him last time. I think I still have your number.
This is the problem, everybody laughs. See, this is-
I don't really.
He can't
For
text.
me to call you, not for you to call me, don't call me on this.
That's an old flip phone.
I think Greg has one of
My
those
wife
too.
has the computer, the $600 computer.
Did you get rid of your flip phone? Did we put the,
Oh, yeah, I have,
did we mute it now or?
I have one of these.
You guys are great.
Thanks, John.
Okay,
Did you mute us?
okay, so I'm supposed to mute.